that I picked the right person to join me as the next Vice President of the United States of America, and that's Senator Kamala Harris.
On August 11th, 2020, Joe Biden announced Kamala Harris as his presidential running mate for 2020. The world celebrated in unison. Just kidding. These were the general reactions. The sad part of how quickly moved to racial slurs, but not just any racial slurs, but the small microaggressive ones is the biggest ones that I have an issue with. Like the monkey animal analogy. This is one that they always use. But to understand why this is problematic, we gotta go back a little further. So let's go back to 1900. Charles Carroll released a book called The Negro A Beast. Actually, the name of the entire book is The Negro A Beast, or In the Image of God, the Reasoner of the Age, the Reveler of the Century, the Bible as it is, the Negro and His Relation to the Human Family. The Negro is not the son of Ham. Whew, that's a lot. Anyway, in this book, Carroll theorizes the history and lineage of blacks, stating that if Adam and Eve were of white people and can only conceive only whites, then how does the black man fit into the story if blacks were never discussed or introduced into the Bible in the first place? Therefore, according to Carroll, blacks were not from the image of God, but from animals themselves. This thought process has been a long-standing trope from Christian organizations and against the African American community. In 1867, Buckner Payne wrote The Negro, What is His Ethnological Status?, in which was the same argument that inspired Carroll's book. Because of this thought process, the idea that blacks originated from apes rather than God himself gave freedom and a guilty-free mindset when slavery was rampant in the United States. Even after slavery was abolished, the idea that blacks were similar to monkeys stuck.
And what began as a conversation about polarization, extremes here between progressives and Trump Republicans, is now morphing into a conversation about race after DeSantis appeared on Fox News just hours after his victory and said this.
I watched those Democrat debates. None of that was my cup of tea, but I mean, he performed better than the other people there. So we've got to work hard to make sure that we continue Florida going in a good direction. Let's build off the success we've had on Governor Scott. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases.
That reveals similar language used by the late President Ronald Reagan. So let me take you back to 1971, and it was Reagan, who was, by the way, the governor of California at the time, was on the phone with then President Richard Nixon. And so during this conversation, Reagan referred to leaders of African nations as, quote, monkeys.
And last night, I tell you, to watch that thing on television as I did, to see those monkeys from those African countries, damn them, they're still uncomfortable wearing shoes.
This is Finn. We're about to show. Oh my goodness, take a look at him. He's a resident of the Oklahoma City Zoo, and this week the zoo's ape caretaker took over their Instagram, and we are all loving that they did. And as you can see, Finn was fascinated.
Definitely ready for his close-up.
Kind of looks like you. What do you see the picture?
After the star of Roseanne went on a rather racist and very offensive Twitter rant earlier today, Roseanne Barr tweeted this, quote, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby equals VJ, close quote. VJ as Valerie Jarrett, former top Obama advisor.
Also from that stereotype, the idea of the animal brute imagery of blacks arose. We're going to discuss more into the brute stereotype very soon in a different video, because it actually splinters into a different yet common problem. In 1935, black teenagers in Scottsboro, Alabama were accused of the rape of 2 white women. At the same time, the movie King Kong was released. To add emphasis to what a danger black men are to society, images of the black men filtered in with images of King Kong to reinforce the societal fears of blacks to a jury consisting of all white men created a huge firestorm of issues. Eventually, all 9 were sentenced to death, until many appeals later found that all 9 were innocent from the charges. Now, as recent as 2018, H&M came under fire for using a black child model to model a shirt that read "Coolest Monkey in the Jungle." Eventually H&M removed the image and the shirt. For as long as we can remember the emphasis of making blacks appear in a lower class and lower stature as whites, going as far as viewing human beings, black human beings, as animals has long been an issue within American cultures, and even though we are continuing to fight to create equality for all cultures, we must accept blacks as humans and not degrade others as animals.